En un mundo donde la información es poder, un hombre ha dedicado más de 3 décadas a llevar las noticias más importantes a su audiencia. Un hombre cuya voz resuena con autoridad y cuyos análisis trascienden fronteras. Este es Carlos Amezcua. Como un experimentado periodista galardonado con el premio Emmy, Carlos Amezcua ha estado analizando y comentando eventos globales durante más de 35 años. Es un defensor del periodismo responsable y un orador poderoso que comparte su visión en temas de seguridad financiera y física. Desde sus inicios como presentador de noticias de radio en las mañanas, Carlos demostró una habilidad inquebrantable para informar sobre noticias de última hora. Reportó historias importantes en el CBS Evening News, como huracanes, terremotos, incendios, erupciones volcánicas. Nada lo detuvo en su búsqueda de la verdad. Un punto de inflexión en su carrera fue la cobertura de la infame masacre en McDonald's, en San Isidro, California. Su reportaje constante a nivel nacional e internacional le valió numerosos premios de prensa. Como reportero investigativo, Carlos luchó contra la corrupción, el abuso infantil y el despilfarro gubernamental. Entrevistó a presidentes, senadores y líderes mundiales. Durante 17 años fue el copresentador del KTLA Morning News. Ha sido galardonado con 22 premios Emmy, incluyendo uno por excelencia periodística y otro por su cobertura de la política mexicana. También ha recibido premios de la Asociación de Prensa y la Asociación de Noticias de Radio y Televisión, Golden Mikes. Formó parte del equipo que ganó el prestigioso premio George Foster Peabody. Carlos Amezcua es un modelo a seguir para la juventud hispana y para todos aquellos que aspiran a alcanzar más en la vida. Es un faro de información y un defensor incansable de la verdad. Bienvenido, Carlos Amezcua.
Carlos Amezcua.
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Excelente. Thank you for making the time.
It's my pleasure. Good to be with you.
Awesome. Well, you know, one of the things that always intrigued me about Latinos finding success in the U.S. is their mindset, the way that they have to think. And so I know that your journey to where you are now hasn't been a smooth ride from day one till today. And you've probably been through a lot of challenges. So I want to touch on that. Okay. But first, take us back to that moment when you knew that it was media that you wanted to do. It was communication. How did that come about?
I've always been very curious. My dad and mom always said I was extremely curioso about everything, taking things apart. I love the television, love read newspapers. And while I was learning English, I was reading the newspaper to get my English proficiency to a level that I could actually speak in proper English. And I didn't realize that it was already in me, that I actually wanted to be a communicator. And it was not until college that I actually realized that I had a gift to communicate and to do what I wanted to do. I was a fine art major in college. When I first started, I wanted to be an oil painter. I was a musician. I played guitar in a band. I played my dad's mariachi. So it was, to me, it was art. It was going to be music or art or something like that. Okay. And either I was going to be a professional musician or a professional artist or a teacher or something, but never in a million years was I going to be a newsman, a journalist.
That is interesting. So how did that came about? Did you kind of, all of a sudden you were inspired by somebody, or?
I was.
Was that what happened?
I was inspired by my girlfriend's father, who said, how are you going to pay, if you two get serious, how are you going to put food on the table? And he said, oh, art, great, congratulations, you're going to starve. So he actually guided me to something different. He said, why don't you look at advertising? You can be art and sort of learn a few things about business and things in advertising. Part of my advertising, and I did, I followed his advice. I went to my college counselor. I said, I want to switch majors. I think I need to do something a little more substantive, which was a very adult thing to do, you know, at 19 or 20. And so I did. I switched, and in the curriculum was a journalism class that I just absorbed and loved and found. I found my calling in it, and it became part of me. And almost immediately, I immersed myself in radio and in television and in writing copy and all that kind of thing.
Common denominator I have been able to discover with successful people is mentorship. So in this case, maybe you didn't know, I'm out of the question how are you going to take care of my daughter, right? But and somehow there is this mentorship. I think that in the Latino community, Hispanic community, there, I don't know, at least what I have been able to see, there isn't much value placed in seeking or having mentors.
Yeah.
Have you identified that also? Or?
Well, I think it's interesting that you say that, because I think Latino males, like myself, I defer to the older, more seasoned gentlemen who are in my world. My dad, my grandfather, my uncles, my girlfriend's father. Mm-hmm. You listen and respect. And when they talk, you don't rebel against their advice. You listen to their advice because there's some value there. And we're taught that from very young to respect our elders. And I'm pretty sure that's unique to us in the way we're raised as Latinos. I know that other cultures do have a similar thing, but in the case of my family, I had to listen to my mentors. My dad taught me music. I had a mentor who taught me art. And then, of course, as I got into journalism, I had a man who was my professor at school who taught me about journalism, and he helped me so much. He kind of turned my life around and headed me in a direction that to this day continues to be a source of great inspiration.
The reason I asked that is because in my early career, I wasn't intentionally seeking a mentor.
No, right? I don't think I was either. No.
Yeah, I stumble upon some of them, and then I'm like,
stumble a lot.
Yeah, you know. If I had started seeking them intentionally earlier, maybe I would have achieved success faster, right? So that's why if your grandfather was there, your father was there, I totally understand. You look up to them, you listen to them. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you can look and identify somebody who has the results that you wish you had, to reach out to them somehow, read a book about them, find a way to add value to them so that they can kind of bring you into your world. Now, to me, that's clear, and that's the one thing, some of the mentors I have is because I've identified they are 100 steps ahead of me. Mm-hmm. They must know something I don't know. How can I, if they don't let me in, what am I going to do to add some value around them so they do look at me and eventually bring me into the world? Like, I'm more intentional about it, and that's why I was saying that needs to be somehow in the forefront, people to understand that actually successful people are generous people, if you can somehow do create that value around them, they're going to bring you in under the wing.
Yeah, to me, I think that there is a couple of components. First of all, your ego has to be in check. You have to understand that you've got a lot to learn, and that you have to appreciate other people for their knowledge. I didn't really understand the whole mentor thing until much later. It was happening to me. It was around me. I don't think I identified it as this is my mentor. I just followed what they told me was the path to become a good journalist and eventually, an award-winning journalist, which is what I was really hoping for when I finally decided that this was going to be my path. I said, all right, I want to be the very best. And I set my sights on Walter Cronkite, who at the time was the top guy in television news. This is my career. That's what I want to do. And so, I would say that to my prospective bosses when they would ask me what your goals are. I said, well, my goal is to be Walter Cronkite. And they'd laugh.
They laugh. Typical. Yeah.
Okay, well, you got a long way to go before you get there, right? Yeah. But, and you're going to help me get there. I would always say that you're going to help me get there. And I think that's part of the mentorship thing that you finally identify. When you identify it, it becomes you. It becomes everything.
Yeah, then you can't unsee it anymore.
No, you're right.
A lot, and then now you're intentionally looking for is because those are faster ways for you to get to where you want to go.
Right.
Now, as you were trying to do something different, I know in my case, the first time I wore a suit, people making fun of me. Like, "Ahí viene el licenciado."
Yeah, right.
Sure. I know that a lot of our people, and maybe not just the Latino, but anybody who's trying to be different, that maybe already is known to be whatever they have built themselves to be at this moment, the moment they try to break away from that, they probably get pulled through people making fun of them, ridiculed. Did you go through that? You just mentioned a little bit or not?
I mean, I was a bit of a different egg in that regard. I was very confident. My dad and my mom created a very confident individual in me, and my brothers and my sister. We're all very, very A-type. And so we all think that we're the best thing in the world. And that was a great tool to have that kind of confidence when you're young. Is terrific. So when people made fun of me, I pushed them out of the way. I didn't give them the time of day. I didn't engage them. I didn't listen to them, and eventually, it became something that they just wouldn't taunt me anymore. They did taunt me, especially in school. I was taunted, "Hey, Mexican, what are you doing, Mexican? Hey, Mexican, what?" You know,
Yeah.
I got that a lot.
Yeah.
And I would literally brush it off. It was nothing but I'd go home and I'd tell my mom, I said, "What is with this, hey, Mexican stuff?" You know, I was born and raised in San Diego. I'm an American. Why are they bugging me so much? And she would say, "Honey, don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. You're fine. You're doing great in school. Just keep true to yourself and don't worry about it. No importa nada what they say."
Yeah.
Nothing.
Your actions will deliver you to
eventually
the
you'll
results.
do what you're going to do. And
Yeah.
you'll be
The
strong.
reason I wanted to highlight that is I want people that are watching to know that they're capable of so much more than they may believe at this moment.
Oh, yeah.
In that if they happen to be one of those that maybe aren't being on social, maybe creating video, maybe opening up to the world because of what somebody else is going to say.
Yeah.
That has more weight sometimes than what they want to do, because it's like a fear. So
Yeah.
I know we all go through that. I don't know if in your journey you went through some of that and how to push through, because there's a lot of people right now that could have a lot to offer, but they're kind of, in a place where nobody knows about them because they're
The only person
of
stopping you from succeeding is yourself. And it doesn't matter what people do or say about you. It's you. If you're afraid, you're not going to succeed. Some people are afraid of success. It's the weirdest thing. They're afraid of trying something that may make them look bad, or may make them feel bad, or may make them feel like they haven't achieved. And I went through some of that, like questioning my abilities and whether I really belonged. Did I go in the wrong direction? Did I meet the wrong person? Did I say something wrong? Is my hair weird? All of that stuff goes through you as you're kind of trying to create the person that you eventually become. And I think that as I move forward, I did it fearlessly. And I think I owe that to my father. My father was a fearless human being. Mm-hmm. I mean, here he is, a trained violinist. He played concerts. He was a brilliant composer and arranger.
Okay, that's where the arts. That's where you got the arts from.
He had all of the skills to do that. He played in the finest orchestras in America, and he played with the Mariachi Vargas, which was the mariachi record in Mexico. Yeah. And he sang beautifully, and so my dad taught me fearlessness. He was a man who would go to the tuna cannery factory in San Diego, can tuna in the daytime, and then play violin at night. He smelled like tuna all the time. He would go pick lettuce in the campos, during the day. His hands would get all grimy and everything, and then go play the violin, and he'd scrub his fingernails until they bled to clean them so that he would look nice playing the violin. So he was fierce, and I wanted to be fierce like my dad and fearless. And so any obstacles that got in the way, I'd push them aside. But I also noticed that there were some in my family who were meek and afraid and would bow to the pressure of being Latino, bow to the pressure of being poor. There was 12 of us living in our house. I slept on the floor next to a kerosene heater with blankets and a pillow. Mm-hmm. I didn't know we were poor. I had no idea we were poor until somebody said, "Hey, you're poor, man. What's the deal?" You don't have any clue about that.
Right.
So it's interesting that some of my cousins continue to be poor, and some of us that had a kind of a fearless mentality went on to succeed. And they go, "How's it that you did? Come on, Carlos, what'd you do?" I said, I just fought through all the nonsense.
Like if it was luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I hear that all the time. Mis primos, pero no son primos. They're like, first cousins or whatever. Yeah. But they would say, "Yeah, man, you're the luckiest guy in the world." I go, "Oh yeah, I'm the luckiest guy. I work my butt off." Yeah.
But they don't see all the struggles you have to go through and everything. So just so people know that it really takes a mental toughness. Would you like to share a tough time in your career? I'm sure there were many, but maybe one that you can identify and what sort of a mindset it took for you to overcome that one challenge, whether personally, maybe professionally.
Oh, gosh, there were so many times where I just doubted my ability to do the right thing. Getting fired is not a fun thing to happen to you in the middle of your career. When your career is moving straight up and you are feeling it, you get the wind behind you and everything is going, and all of a sudden the bottom drops out from underneath you. You don't expect it, you don't see it coming, you're not prepared for it, you haven't saved any money, you have 4 kids, a house payment, a car payment, and everything just falls apart. And I'm standing in the street after being told I was being let go, and I'm standing in the street with my little box of stuff from my desk. Like, what the hell just happened to me? I couldn't understand it. And I burst into tears on the sidewalk, and I'm like, oh, this is not this is not a pretty sight. You know, I waved a cab down, a cab picked me up. This is in New York. And I got the cab ride to the train. It was the longest train ride home of my life, and I just sat there with a box on my lap, and I just like, now what am I going to do? Now, people back home are going to say he failed. He didn't do what he wanted to do. His target to become Walter Cronkite is now blown up in his face. He's dead. He's gone. He's toast. And so I came back and had a few dollars left, and I was unemployed. And so I did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, just trying to keep my family fed and a roof over our heads, and thank goodness for family support because they helped me out a little bit. You know, I applied for a reporter's job at a TV station in San Diego, and they hired me. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, I'm back to working for somebody. It never occurred to me that I could actually start a business back then. This is, you know, the 80s and 90s and 80s actually. It never occurred to me because in my people of my generation always go work for somebody. Right? We weren't entrepreneur. I wasn't an entrepreneur.
So the vision was not expanded, right?
No.
If you're going to school, there's always get ready,
get a
you're
job.
Going to go work for somebody.
Yeah. So I would narrow my focus. You know, I think back on that, I could have done so much more, but I got a job. The job turned into a great opportunity. The opportunity turned into another opportunity, and eventually I found myself in Los Angeles, starting a morning show, which was very risky because they didn't have a morning show in 1991 when I moved there. That became the most successful thing I ever did. It was a remarkable success. We beat the Today Show, we beat Good Morning America, we beat everybody in the morning. We were the dominant morning news team in the country, and suddenly I was getting fan letters and writing autographs, and then my income started to grow. My confidence grew, and I realized that out of the ashes of me getting fired came an opportunity that would have never come my way had I not gotten fired, had I not learned a lesson. And now, by the way, I appreciate this job so much. You know, I stayed there for 20 years. It was a long, long time, and for television. And I love that job. I loved everything about it. I loved all that it gave to me, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. But it taught me some valuable lessons about myself and how to persevere and continue to fight through all the pain. And, you know, personal stuff at home was difficult because you're the provider. And I know today that's not cool to say that, but that's the way it was back then. I was the man of the house. I was going to take care of by this time I had 5 kids. So, you know, it was a great time. And so from then, so for the next several years after that, you know, my life continued I enjoyed success, and I'm very grateful for the tough times. It wasn't always easy, and you know, I could be misunderstood quite a bit, and you know, and culturally and otherwise, but you kind of fight through all of that, and you become who you become.
Thank you for sharing that. 2 more things as we wrap up. You mentioned two things, you know. This second job gave you more confidence. It increased your income significantly. People say money cannot buy you happiness. I want to see what your thoughts are on that. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the limiting beliefs in our community sometimes is like, well, I shouldn't just pursue this other thing because money isn't going to make you happy. It's not going to buy you happiness anyways. I'm not saying everybody thinks that, but there is this certain thing like money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah.
Therefore, let's just be grateful for what you have. Well, you should be. I'm grateful for every moment. Even the first job at Motorola I had, very grateful for that. But it's not that we have to stay there. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on money and
Well,
sort of.
I was making a lot of money in New York for the time. For a guy my age, I had advanced very quickly. I was making a lot of money and was foolish with it. I was not doing what I should have been doing, investing and thinking about assets and retirement and all of that. I did not do that. Sometimes
Came quick and you were young.
Yeah, it came quick. I was young, and it was fun. It was fun to have all of that.
New York.
Yeah, and then when it went away, and I was unemployed for a time, I realized that it was amazing how much I could get for $1 or for $5, and I began to appreciate what I actually had. So when it came back, I had a bigger appreciation for what that. But I also learned to appreciate the work. And the work was what really gave me joy, sense of accomplishment every day, a purpose to live every day. It wasn't. They were paying me to do something I loved, and I was very happy about that, and very blessed to do that. But it did teach me the losing of the money taught me the value of money. Then I did save. Then things did change the perception of how I manage myself and manage my household.
Yeah. Now I know you were born in San Diego. You're a child of Mexicans. So I know inside of you, in that heart, there's a very proud Mexican also. Am I right? And as you have grown your life here, you've seen how the Latino, Hispanic, even the Mexican community, especially in California, right?
Yeah.
What would you wish our community would realize to really take advantage of what this country has to offer?
I know that, because I've lived outside of the country in Latin America for an extended period of time, and I know the vision that people have from other countries about what America offers. So there's this weird golden dream of, streets paved with gold and the great opportunity and everything. That's not necessarily true, but what is here, and what I wish my Latino brothers and sisters would understand, is that there is no limit to the opportunity. You can turn $1 into $10, the $10 into 20, and 20 into 100, 100 into 1,000, 1,000 into $1 million. You can do that, and there's nothing that will stop you from doing that. The only thing stopping you is you. And it doesn't matter that you came from poverty. It doesn't matter that you don't have anything. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. None of that matters. What matters is what's in your head and what's in your heart. And I think too many Latinos come over here expecting to get a job and send money home.
Yeah.
Get a job, send money home. And they live this existence, they drink their cervezas, they have their lunches, and I see them, mowing lawns. And I remember talking to a friend who was my gardener. He became a friend of mine. And I said, why don't you get other gardeners and start a business? He goes, what do you mean? I go, get other guys to help you. You be the boss. You can have 4 or 5 guys mowing lawns at the other houses. You're doing mine. Get the other guys to do the. Yeah. He looks at me like, what?
Yeah, you've already learned. Now you can teach. Yeah,
he had no idea that he could do that. I said, you're only limiting yourself. And he did that. He did just that. And he started he has a big old landscaping company now with a logo, a nice Ford truck. He's got like 4 or 5 trucks now. So there is that. And I also have another friend who's a waiter. And he's been a waiter for 22 years in Los Angeles, in Malibu. So, smart guy, And this is a great story for all Latinos to think about. He came here and he had a dream. And his dream was to make his home in Guadalajara something special. So he got his buddies, all of the Mexican waiters and busboys and cooks in this restaurant. They began a financial syndicate. They created a financial syndicate. They put money in and invested it in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
And they bought a duplex, then an apartment building, then a factory. These guys are still waiters in Malibu. They have more money than the people who go into the restaurant.
That's great.
And Luis has put his kids through Ivy League schools. They live in a small apartment in Culver City, and they have a great life. He loves living in Malibu. He loves being a waiter. But when he goes home, he's a landowner.
Exactly.
With his brothers. So the message to people who come from Mexico, come from Central America, wherever they come from, is that the opportunity is only limited by your own imagination and your own heart. Because in the U.S., there are no limits. And you can trust the system. The system will pay you back for hard work. The system will work for you. If somebody teaches you how to invest the money. Trust that it's going to work for you. It's not going to be easy. No one's going to hand it to you.
You know, as I hear you, I remember a couple of things I heard, which makes more and more sense to me every day as I go through these interviews, is that success, wealth, and power do not discriminate. They don't care who owns them. They are there for whomever goes and fight for them.
Yeah.
So you're basically here, you're a testament that capitalism works, that you can get up in this country and go take advantage of the free enterprise system. And so that is the big awakening.
That is the big awakening, yeah.
So I think that was powerful to end with, because I believe that we have the abilities. I always tell people I was born with no talent.
That's not true.
The minute I realize I have the ability of learning a skill, there's no stopping me.
Yeah, and that skill becomes who you are.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
and then you impart it to others, and you give them a better life, and that's what I like to do.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think leadership is one of the most noble things anybody can do. So I want to thank you for the leadership, for setting the example. I mean, people saw all of your accomplishments in the intro video, so it's an honor to have the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you,
Mauricio. Very much for that.
Un placer.
Keep leading.
I will.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I'm sure you got a lot of golden nuggets from this interview. Make sure you follow Carlos Amezcua. And everything that he's doing, we're going to make sure that we leave all the links in somewhere around this page for you to continue to get inspired and get your vision expanded by none other than Carlos Amezcua. We'll see you next time. Take care.